The champagne glass hit the floor first. Then came the words that made every head in Romano's fine dining turn toward table 7. Did I stutter? I said bring me someone who actually speaks English, not some diversity hire who can barely take an order. The man in the $1,000 suit didn't even look up from his phone as he waved his hand dismissively at Kiana, whose hands trembled as she clutched her notepad. 28 years old, working double shifts to keep her grandmother's medical bills paid, and this wasn't the first time someone had tried to make her feel small. But it was about to be the last time anyone did it in front of the wrong person. Because 3 tables away, a man in a perfectly tailored black coat slowly lowered his wine glass, his jaw tightening as he watched the scene unfold. And when Kiana's eyes met his for just a split second, 15 years of distance collapsed into nothing. Jinwoo hadn't planned to be in Chicago that night. His private jet had landed just 2 hours ago for a merger meeting scheduled for the next morning, and his assistant had recommended Romano's for a quiet dinner. Quiet. The word felt like a joke now as he watched the entitled businessman berate the waitress whose voice he would recognize anywhere, even after all these years. Kiana Monroe, the girl who used to share her lunch with him in middle school when the other kids made fun of his accent. The girl who taught him English by watching cartoons together in her grandmother's living room. The girl who cried the day his family moved back to Seoul, making him promise to never forget her. He'd kept that promise, and judging by the way his heart was pounding in his chest, his body hadn't forgotten her either. "Listen carefully," the cruel customer said, raising his voice loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. "I don't want excuses, I don't want apologies. I want competent service, and if you can't provide that, maybe you should find a job more suited to your skill set." He smirked, clearly enjoying the attention he was getting from nearby diners. Some looked away uncomfortably. Others whispered. But Kiana stood there, professional smile still plastered on her face even as humiliation burned in her chest, because she needed this job and men like him knew it. What neither of them knew was that the quiet man rising from table 12 was Lee Jinwoo, CEO of Hanseong International, with a net worth that could buy Romano 70 times over, and a very personal reason to make sure this moment became this cruel man's worst mistake. Kiana took a deep breath, the kind she'd practiced in the bathroom mirror during her 15-minute breaks, the kind that kept tears from falling until she made it to her car. "Sir, I apologize for any confusion," Kiana said, her voice steady even though her hands weren't. "Let me repeat your order to make sure I have everything correct." The man, whose name tag from some tech conference still hung around his neck reading Bryant FISCHER VP of Operations, finally looked up at her. His eyes were cold, calculating like he was measuring exactly how much he could get away with. "You know what? Forget it," Bryant said, pushing his chair back with a screech that made several diners flinch. "I'll take my business somewhere that values customer service and professionalism." He stood up, making a show of straightening his jacket. That's when Kiana noticed her manager, Mr. Castellano, rushing over from the host stand, and her heart sank, because she knew that look on his face. The same look he'd given Shanice 2 weeks ago before firing her for creating a disturbance when a customer had grabbed her wrist. "Mr. Fisher, please let me handle this," Mr. Castellano said, shooting Kiana a glare that said everything his mouth didn't. "Kiana, go to the back, now." "But I didn't," Kiana started. "Now," Mr. Castellano repeated. And that's when Jinwoo moved. He didn't rush, didn't run. He simply walked toward table 7 with the kind of quiet authority that made people instinctively step aside. His assistant, Minyu, who'd been sitting across from him, looked up in surprise but didn't follow. He knew that look on his boss's face, the one that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. "Excuse me," Jinwoo said, his voice calm but carrying enough weight to stop both Bryant and Mr. Castellano mid-conversation. "I couldn't help but overhear." Bryant turned, irritation flashing across his face. "And you are?" "Someone who's been watching you make a fool of yourself for the past 10 minutes, Jinwoo replied smoothly. His English was perfect now, not a trace of the accent he used to hate as a kid. The waitress took your order correctly. You ordered the sea bass with asparagus, no butter, and the house salad with dressing on the side. She repeated it back to you twice. You were too busy on your phone to listen. The color drained from Bryant's face, then rushed back in an angry red. I don't know who you think you are, but… Lee Jinwoo, CEO of Hanseong International, Jinwoo said, pulling out his business card with one hand while the other stayed casually in his pocket. We're currently in talks to acquire the tech company you work for. Harrison Solutions, right? I recognize the conference badge. The restaurant had gone completely silent now. Even the kitchen seemed to have stopped clattering. Mr. Castellano's eyes went wide as he looked at the business card, then at Jinwoo, then back at the card like he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. Bryant's mouth opened and closed like a fish. That's not. You can't base business decisions on character, Jinwoo cut him off. On how a person treats service workers when they think no one important is watching. You're right. I can't base the entire acquisition on that. He paused, letting the silence stretch. But I can definitely bring it up in Monday's board meeting. Let them know what kind of executives they're inheriting. Kiana stood frozen, her notepad still clutched in her hands. Because that voice. She knew that voice. It was deeper now, more confident, but underneath all that grown-up polish was the same boy who used to practice English phrases with her on her grandmother's porch. The same boy who'd saved up 3 months of allowance to buy her a birthday present before his family moved. The same boy who'd promised to come back someday. Jinwoo, the name slipped out before Kiana could stop it. And when he turned to look at her, really look at her, his whole expression changed. The cold businessman disappeared, replaced by something softer, something that made Kiana's heart do things it had no business doing in the middle of her workplace crisis. Hi, Kiki, Jinwoo said, using the nickname only one person in the world had ever called her. Been a while. If you're already hooked and want to see how Jinwoo handles this situation, smash that like button and subscribe. Because trust me, things are about to get very interesting. Drop a comment if you think Bryant is about to regret every life choice that led him to this moment. Mr. Castellano looked between them, confusion written all over his face. You two know each other. We grew up together, Jinwoo said, his eyes never leaving Kiana's face. She's an old friend, a very good friend. He turned back to Mr. Castellano, and the warmth disappeared from his voice. Which is why I'm extremely disappointed in how I just saw her treated, by both your customer and by you. Sir, I was just trying to, Mr. Castellano started. Blame her for a customer's bad behavior, Jinwoo finished. Yes, I saw. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to Kiana. Mr. Fisher is going to leave. And then you and I are going to have a conversation about this establishment's management practices. You can't just, Bryant tried again. I can, Jinwoo said simply. And I am. You can either leave quietly or I can make a phone call to your CEO right now. Your choice. But I should mention that Harrison Solutions is very motivated to make this acquisition happen. They're 3 months from bankruptcy without it. I wonder how they'd feel about an executive jeopardizing that over his ego. Bryant's face went through several shades of red before settling on a pale, clammy white. He grabbed his coat from the chair and stormed toward the exit without another word. The door slammed behind him hard enough to rattle the windows. The entire restaurant seemed to exhale at once. Conversation slowly started up again, though Kiana could feel every eye in the place stealing glances at their table. At her. At Jinwoo. At whatever this moment was turning into. I'm very sorry, Kiana, Mr. Castellano said quickly, though his eyes kept darting to Jinwoo nervously. I shouldn't have assumed. You shouldn't have, Jinwoo agreed coldly. We'll talk in a moment. First, Kiana and I need to catch up. She's taking her break now. It wasn't a question. Mr. Castellano nodded so fast Kiana was surprised his head didn't fall off. Of course, of course. Take all the time you need, Kiana. And just like that, 15 years of wondering if she'd ever see Lee Jinwoo again ended with him gesturing toward his table like they'd just run into each other at a coffee shop. Like her world hadn't just tilted completely sideways. Kiana's legs somehow carried her to table 12, where Jinwoo's assistant, a young Korean man with kind eyes and an amused smile, had already pulled out a chair for her. "I mean you," the assistant said warmly. "I'll go make some calls, give you two a chance to talk." He shot Jinwoo a look that clearly said they'd be discussing this later, then disappeared toward the restaurant's entrance. Kiana sat down because standing seemed impossible. Up close, she could see all the ways Jinwoo had changed. The gangly 13-year-old with too long limbs and uncertain posture had become a man who wore confidence like a second skin. His face had sharpened, his shoulders had broadened, and his style had gone from thrift store clearance to something that probably cost more than her monthly rent. But his eyes, those were the same, dark brown, almost black, with that little spark of mischief that used to get them both in trouble. "You're starring," Jinwoo said, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "You're here," Kiana replied, which wasn't what she meant to say but was apparently what her brain decided on. "You're really here, in Chicago, at my restaurant." "Your restaurant?" Jinwoo raised an eyebrow. "Didn't look like they were treating you like you owned the place." Kiana let out a laugh that was half sob. "I can't believe you just did that. You can't just threaten business deals because someone was rude to a waitress." "I can when that waitress is you," Jinwoo said simply. "And I wasn't threatening. I was stating facts. If Bryant Fisher is representative of Harrison Solutions' executive culture, that's information our board needs to know." "Still," Kiana said, shaking her head, "you didn't have to." "Yes, I did," Jinwoo interrupted gently. "Kiki, I've spent 15 years wondering if you were okay, wondering if you were happy, wondering if you ever thought about that weird Korean kid who couldn't pronounce his RS properly." He smiled, but there was something vulnerable in it. "I walk into a random restaurant in Chicago and there you are, and some guy in a cheap suit is treating you like you're nothing. Yeah, I had to step in." Kiana's throat felt tight. That suit was not cheap. It was definitely at least $700. Jinwoo laughed, and the sound hit Kiana right in the chest, because she remembered that laugh. Used to try to make him laugh at least once a day, just to see his whole face light up. "Okay, maybe not cheap," Jinwoo conceded, "but he wore it like a cheap suit. There's a difference." "Is that what they teach you in CEO school?" Kiana asked. "Suit evaluation?" "Among other things," Jinwoo said, his eyes twinkling. "We also cover corporate intimidation, strategic business card deployment, and advanced smirking." Despite everything, despite the emotional whiplash of the last 10 minutes, Kiana laughed, really laughed, and Jinwoo's expression softened in a way that made her forget how to breathe. "I missed that sound," Jinwoo said quietly. "Which sound, my laugh?" "Yeah," Jinwoo said. "I missed a lot of things, but your laugh most of all." The air between them felt thick with 15 years of unspoken words. Kiana didn't know where to start, how to bridge the gap between the kids they'd been and the adults they'd become. So she went with the easiest question first. "What are you doing in Chicago?" "Business meeting tomorrow," Jinwoo explained. "Merger discussion. My assistant suggested Romano's for dinner, said it was the best Italian food in the city." "It is," Kiana confirmed. "The chef's risotto is amazing, and the tiramisu is basically heaven." "You should sit down and eat with me," Jinwoo said suddenly. "When was the last time you ate? Actually ate, not just grabbed something between tables?" Kiana's stomach chose that moment to growl loudly. She'd been at work since 2 in the afternoon, and her lunch had been a granola bar eaten while standing over the sink in the break room. Jinwoo's eyes narrowed. "That's what I thought, you're eating, no arguments." "I'm working," Kiana protested. "Your manager just gave you all the time you need," Jinwoo reminded her. "And I'm a customer requesting your company, so technically you're still working. You're just doing it sitting down with food." Before Kiana could argue further, Jinwoo had flagged down another server, a young guy named Derek who looked absolutely thrilled to be taking an order from a billionaire. 2 orders of the risotto, Jinwoo said, the tiramisu, and whatever your best wine is. Right away, sir, Derek said, practically bowing as he backed away. Kiana shook her head. You know you don't have to do this. I know, Jinwoo said. I want to, there's a difference. They fell into silence for a moment, the kind that felt heavy with questions. Kiana had about 1,000,000 of them. Where had he been? What had he been doing? Did he ever think about her? Did he have someone waiting for him back in Korea? That last question made her stomach twist in a way that had nothing to do with hunger. Your grandmother, Jinwoo said suddenly. How is she? Is she still making those cookies, the ones with the pecans? Kiana finished. Yeah, she still makes them, though not as often now. Something in her voice made Jinwoo's expression shift. What's wrong? Kiana hesitated. She didn't talk about this. Not with her coworkers, not with the few friends she still kept in touch with from high school. But this was Jinwoo, the same person she used to tell everything to. The person who knew that her grandmother had raised her after her mom died. Who knew that Grammy Monroe was the only family she had. She's sick, Kiana said quietly. Diabetes, heart problems. The medical bills are there a lot. That's why I'm working here. The tips are good and I need to save up for her medications. Jinwoo's jaw tightened. What about insurance, Medicare? Covers some of it, Kiana said. Not all, and the gap is expensive. Kiana, I don't want your money, Kiana said quickly, recognizing that look on his face. I'm handling it. I just need to pick up extra shifts and run yourself into the ground, Jinwoo finished. When was the last time you had a day off? Kiana couldn't remember. 2 weeks ago, 3. That's what I thought, Jinwoo said, echoing her earlier thoughts about Bryant. You're still the same, still putting everyone else first. And you're still the same, Kiana shot back, still trying to fix everything. Is it fixing if I'm just trying to help someone I care about? The words hung between them. Someone I care about, present tense. Like 15 years and an ocean of distance hadn't changed anything. Derek returned with the wine, pouring it with the kind of careful attention that suggested Mr. Castellano had given the entire staff a lecture about treating table 12 like royalty. The risotto came next, steaming and perfect, with that smell that made Kiana's mouth water. Eat, Jinwoo commanded gently. Kiana ate, and it was heaven. She hadn't realized how hungry she was, how tired she was, until she had food in front of her and someone watching to make sure she actually consumed it. They talked while they ate, small things at first, safe things. Jinwoo told her about Seoul, about how different it was from when his family had first moved back, about the company his father had started that Jinwoo had taken over 5 years ago, about the pressure of running a billion-dollar corporation before turning 30. Kiana told him about finishing community college while taking care of her grandmother, about the art degree she'd never quite completed because the bills kept piling up, about her small apartment that was too expensive but close to Grammy's assisted living facility. What she didn't tell him was how many nights she'd looked him up online, seen the photos of him at galas and business conferences, seen him photographed with beautiful women whose dresses probably cost more than Kiana's car. She didn't tell him that she'd clicked on every article, read every interview, just to hear his voice in her head again. Are you feeling these emotions right now? Because I am. If you want to see where this reunion goes and whether Jinwoo can break through those walls Kiana's built, you better like this video and subscribe. Comment Team JINWOO if you're rooting for him to sweep her off her feet. What? Jinwoo asked, catching her staring again. I just can't believe you're real, Kiana admitted. You're like this successful businessman, CEO of an international company, and I'm still here in Chicago serving tables and trying to make rent. Jinwoo's expression turned serious. Kiana Monroe, you listen to me. You're not still here. You're here taking care of the woman who raised you. You're here surviving. You're here being strong and resilient and exactly the person I always knew you'd be. Don't you dare diminish that." Kiana felt tears prick her eyes. "You don't know what my life has been like." "Then tell me," Jinwoo said, reaching across the table to take her hand. His fingers were warm, slightly calloused despite the expensive suit. "I want to know everything. Every year, every month, every day I missed. Tell me." And maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was just the fact that she'd been holding everything in for so long that having someone actually ask, actually want to listen, broke something open inside her. So Kiana told him about working 3 jobs to put herself through community college, about choosing between her own tuition and her grandmother's medication, about the art scholarship she'd turned down because she couldn't leave Grammy alone, about the dreams she'd put on hold and the life she'd planned that kept getting pushed further and further away. Jinwoo listened to all of it, didn't interrupt, didn't offer solutions, just listened with an intensity that made Kiana feel like every word mattered, like she mattered. When she finally ran out of words, Jinwoo squeezed her hand gently. "You're remarkable, you know that." "I'm a mess," Kiana corrected. "You're both," Jinwoo said with a small smile. "But the remarkable part outweighs the mess by a lot." "What about you?" Kiana asked, deflecting. "What's your life like, besides the private jets and threatening rude customers?" Jinwoo laughed. "Not as glamorous as it sounds. Lot of meetings, lot of travel, lot of people who want things from me." "Lonely," Kiana said softly. Jinwoo looked surprised. "Yeah, lonely." "Do you have someone?" The question slipped out before Kiana could stop it. "Back in Seoul, a girlfriend or—" "No," Jinwoo said quickly. "No one serious. A few dates here and there for business functions, but nothing real. Nothing that felt like—" He stopped himself. "Like what?" Kiana prompted. "Like this," Jinwoo admitted. "Nothing that felt like this." The moment stretched between them, loaded with possibility. Kiana knew she should pull her hand back, should remember that this was Lee Jinwoo, billionaire CEO, who lived in a completely different world, who would get on a plane tomorrow or the next day and go back to his life while she stayed here in hers. But she didn't pull away, because for the first time in years she felt seen, felt like someone understood the weight she'd been carrying and didn't expect her to carry it alone. Mr. Castellano appeared at the edge of their table, wringing his hands nervously. "Mr. Lee, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to apologize again for earlier. If there's anything I can do to make this right." "Actually there is," Jinwoo said, his business voice sliding back into place. "I'd like to speak with you about some changes, but not here. Do you have an office?" "Yes, of course, this way," Mr. Castellano said, gesturing toward the back. Jinwoo stood, then turned to Kiana. "Don't move. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Eat your tiramisu." He squeezed her shoulder as he walked past, and Kiana felt the warmth of his touch long after he disappeared toward the back offices. Derek brought the tiramisu, along with a look of pure curiosity. "So you know Mr. Lee?" "We grew up together," Kiana said, the words feeling surreal in her mouth. "That's wild," Derek said. "He seems really cool for a billionaire." "Yeah," Kiana agreed softly. "He really is." She ate the tiramisu slowly, trying to process everything that had happened in the last hour. This morning, her biggest concern had been whether she could pick up an extra shift on Thursday. Now, she was sitting in Romano's eating dessert bought by her childhood friend turned billionaire, who just threatened a business deal to defend her honor. Her life had officially become a K-drama. 10 minutes turned into 15, then 20. Kiana was starting to worry when Jinwoo finally emerged from the back, followed by a very pale Mr. Castellano. "All set," Jinwoo said, sliding back into his seat. "Kiana, you have the next 3 days off, paid." "What, I can't?" "You can," Jinwoo said firmly. I explained to Mr. Castellano that any establishment I'm considering investing in needs to treat their employees well. That includes adequate time off. He agreed. Investing, Kiana's voice came out as a squeak. I'm thinking about buying the place, Jinwoo said casually, like he was discussing the weather. It's a good location, strong reputation, just needs better management practices. Mr. Castellano has agreed to implement some changes. Kiana looked at her manager, who nodded enthusiastically. Whatever you need, Kiana, you've been working so hard, you deserve a break. This was insane. This was absolutely insane. Jinwoo had been back in her life for less than an hour and had already gotten her 3 days off and potentially bought her workplace. You can't just buy a restaurant because a customer was rude to me, Kiana hissed once Mr. Castellano had scurried away. I'm not, Jinwoo said. I'm buying a restaurant because it's a solid investment. The customer being rude to you just moved up my timeline. Jinwoo. Spend the 3 days with me, Jinwoo said suddenly. I'm in Chicago until Friday. Show me around. Let me see your city. Let me spend time with my oldest friend, please. Kiana knew she should say no, should protect herself from whatever this was turning into, because Jinwoo was going to leave. He had to leave. His life was in Seoul, running an empire, and hers was here, taking care of Grammy and trying to survive. But the word that came out was, okay. Jinwoo's whole face lit up. Yeah. Yeah, Kiana confirmed. But I get to plan what we do. No private jets or fancy restaurants, just regular Chicago stuff. Deal, Jinwoo said, extending his hand. Kiana shook it, trying to ignore how right it felt to have her hand in his. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., I'll text you where to meet. You don't have my number, Jinwoo pointed out. Then I guess you better give it to me, Kiana said with a smile. They exchanged phones, and Kiana tried not to think about the fact that she now had Lee Jinwoo's personal cell number saved in her contacts. Right between Grammy and landlord, avoid. Minyu reappeared from wherever he'd been hiding, took one look at Jinwoo's face and smiled knowingly. Ready to go, boss. Yeah, Jinwoo said, standing. He looked at Kiana and something soft and vulnerable crossed his features. Thank you for agreeing to spend time with me. I know this is weird and sudden, but... It's not weird, Kiana interrupted. It's nice, really nice. Tomorrow at 10, Jinwoo confirmed. Tomorrow at 10, Kiana echoed. She watched him leave, watched the way other diners tracked his movement, watched the door close behind him and Minyu. And then she sat there in the now-quiet restaurant, a half-eaten tiramisu in front of her, trying to figure out if the last hour had actually happened or if she'd fallen asleep in the break room and dreamed the whole thing. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Just making sure you actually saved my number. Also, I can't wait for tomorrow. Sleep well, Kiki. J. Kiana saved the number with shaking fingers. This was real. Lee Jinwoo was real, and for the next 3 days he was hers. She just had to figure out how to survive it without completely losing her heart. Though if she was being honest with herself, as she gathered her things and clocked out for the night, that ship had probably sailed about 15 years ago. Want to see what happens when Kiana takes Jinwoo around Chicago? Will old feelings reignite, or will the differences in their lives be too much to overcome? Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss episode 2. Drop a comment telling me where you think Kiana should take Jinwoo on their day together. Team Navy Pier or Team Hidden Gem? Let me know below. Coming up in episode 2, a day in Chicago that neither of them will forget, secrets from the past resurface, and Jinwoo makes Kiana an offer that could change everything. But first, someone from Jinwoo's world shows up unexpectedly, and she's not happy about Kiana. Lesson preview. Sometimes the people who see your worth are the ones who knew you before the world tried to tell you who to be. Kiana stood outside the Red Line station at Fullerton, checking her phone for the 5th time in 3 minutes. 9:58 a.m. Jinwoo had said he'd be there at 10, and she was absolutely certain a billionaire CEO would show up in some ridiculous car with a driver and probably ruin her entire plan to show him normal person Chicago. She dressed carefully that morning. Not too fancy because they'd be walking a lot, but not too casual either because this was still Lee Jinwoo, and apparently her heart had opinions about how she looked around him. She'd settled on jeans, ankle boots, and a burnt orange sweater that Grammy had said brought out the warmth in her brown skin. Her natural curls were pulled back in a high puff, and she'd actually put on mascara, which was more effort than she'd made for anything in months. A black SUV pulled up to the curb and Kiana's heart sank. Of course he'd show up like this. But then the back door opened and Jinwoo stepped out wearing jeans. Actual jeans. And a simple black jacket over a gray sweater. And sneakers. He looked like a normal person if normal people were absurdly good-looking and moved with the confidence of someone who owned half of Seoul. "You're starring again," Jinwoo said, grinning as he approached. "You're wearing jeans," Kiana replied. "I didn't know billionaires own jeans." "We get one pair when we hit our first million," Jinwoo said seriously. "It's in the contract." Kiana laughed, and just like that, the nervous energy in her chest eased a little. This was still Jinwoo, the same person who used to make terrible jokes just to see her smile. "Is your assistant coming?" Kiana asked, noticing Minyu in the driver's seat. "No, he's going to go work at the hotel," Jinwoo said. "I told him I was taking the day off. First one in 6 months, actually." 6 months, Kiana's eyes widened. "Jinwoo, that's not healthy." "I know," Jinwoo said, "which is why I'm here with you, so where are we going?" Kiana smiled mysteriously. "You'll see, but first we're taking the train." Jinwoo looked at the SUV, then at the station entrance, then back at Kiana. "The train." "The L train," Kiana corrected. "It's how normal people get around Chicago. I promised you regular Chicago, remember?" "I haven't been on public transportation in years," Jinwoo admitted. "Then today's full of new experiences," Kiana said, heading toward the station. "Come on and put that credit card away. I'm buying your fare." "Kiana." "Nope," Kiana said firmly. "My city, my rules. You can buy lunch if it makes you feel better." Jinwoo held up his hands in surrender, but she caught the smile on his face, like he was enjoying being told what to do for once. The train was moderately crowded for a Wednesday morning, a mix of tourists, students, and people heading to work late shifts. Kiana swiped them both through, and they found seats near the back. Jinwoo looked around with genuine curiosity, taking in the advertisements, the mix of people, the rhythm of the city moving around them. "When was the last time you did something normal?" Kiana asked as the train lurched into motion. Jinwoo thought about it. "Define normal." "I don't know, grocery shopping, cooking your own food, riding public transportation." "I have people who do my grocery shopping," Jinwoo admitted. "And a chef, and obviously a driver, so I guess the answer is not recently." "That sounds lonely," Kiana said softly. "It is," Jinwoo agreed. "But it's efficient, and when you're running a company, efficiency matters." "What about happiness?" Kiana challenged. "Does that matter?" Jinwoo looked at her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. "It's starting to." The moment hung between them, loaded with meaning. Kiana looked away first, focusing on the passing stations. "We're getting off at Chicago Avenue." "Where are you taking me?" Jinwoo asked. "Patience," Kiana said with a smile. They exited at Chicago Avenue, and Kiana led him through a series of streets until they reached a building with a faded awning that read Lighthouse Community Center. "This is where I volunteer," Kiana explained. "Every Wednesday morning when I'm not working, I help teach art classes to kids." Jinwoo's expression softened. "You still paint?" "When I can," Kiana said. "Money's too tight to keep up with it seriously, but here I get to share it with kids who might not otherwise have access to art programs. The schools keep cutting funding, so places like this matter. She led him inside, where the smell of paint and coffee mixed with the sound of children's laughter. A short black woman with silver locks looked up from the front desk and broke into a huge smile. "Kiana, I thought you weren't coming today." "Got some unexpected time off," Kiana said. "Miss Opal, this is my friend Jinwoo. Jinwoo, this is Miss Opal. She runs this place basically single-handedly." "Pleasure to meet you," Jinwoo said, shaking her hand. Miss Opal's eyes went sharp and assessing. "Friend, huh? Is this the boy from the pictures, the one from middle school?" Kiana felt her face heat up. "You remember that?" "Baby, you talked about that boy for 3 years straight after he left," Miss Opal said with a knowing smile. "I remember." Jinwoo looked delighted. "She talked about me." "Don't let it go to your head," Kiana muttered, but she was smiling. "Too late," Jinwoo said cheerfully. Miss Opal laughed. "Well, you're welcome to sit in on the class. We've got 12 kids today, ages 6 to 10. Fair warning, they're a handful." "I'm ready," Jinwoo said. He was not ready. The kids swarmed Kiana the moment she walked into the art room, all talking at once about their projects and their week, and could they please paint with the good brushes today. Kiana handled it with practiced ease, getting them all settled at tables with supplies, answering questions, mediating a dispute over who got the red paint. Jinwoo watched from the doorway, and Kiana caught the expression on his face. Something soft and amazed, like he was seeing her in a completely new light. "You gonna stand there all day or help?" Kiana called out. A little girl with braids and missing front teeth tugged on Jinwoo's jacket. "Are you Miss Kiana's boyfriend?" Jinwoo crouched down to her level. "I'm her friend, what's your name?" "Imani," the girl said. "I'm 7, do you know how to paint?" "Not really," Jinwoo admitted. "Can you teach me?" Imani's eyes lit up. "Yeah, come sit with me." For the next 2 hours, Kiana watched Lee Jinwoo, Billionaire CEO, learn how to paint flowers from a 7-year-old with infinite patience and enthusiasm. He listened seriously to Imani's instructions, praised her technique, and didn't even flinch when a 6-year-old boy named Marcus accidentally splattered green paint across his expensive jacket. "It's okay," Jinwoo said when Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "It's just a jacket. Your painting is more important. Can you show me what you're making?" Kiana felt something crack open in her chest watching him. This was the Jinwoo she remembered, the one who was kind without trying, who made people feel seen and valued without even realizing he was doing it. If you're falling for Jinwoo as hard as Kiana is right now, hit that like button. And drop a comment saying, "Protect JINWOO at all costs, because this man is too pure." Subscribe to see what happens next. When the class ended and the kids had been picked up by parents or guardians, Miss Opal pulled Kiana aside while Jinwoo cleaned paint brushes at the sink. "That man is in love with you," Miss Opal said bluntly. "What? No, we just reconnected yesterday." "Baby, I've been watching people for 63 years, Miss Opal interrupted. "That man looks at you like you hung the moon and personally arranged the stars. Question is, how do you feel about him?" Kiana looked at Jinwoo, watching the careful way he cleaned each brush, the slight smile on his face. "It doesn't matter. He lives in Seoul. He runs a billion-dollar company. I'm a waitress who can barely make rent. We live in completely different worlds." "Worlds can change," Miss Opal said wisely, "if people want them to." "I don't want something I can't have," Kiana said quietly. "Too late for that," Miss Opal observed. "You've wanted that boy since you were 13 years old. Question is whether you're brave enough to actually reach for what you want now that he's here." Kiana didn't have an answer for that. They left the community center around noon, stepping out into crisp autumn air. Jinwoo had paint on his jacket, his jeans, and somehow in his hair. "You have green in your hair," Kiana said, reaching up without thinking to pick it out. Jinwoo went very still, his eyes locked on her face. They were standing close, too close. Kiana could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could feel the warmth radiating off him. "Kiana," Jinwoo said softly. Her phone rang, shattering the moment. Grammy's facility. Kiana answered immediately. "Hello." "Hi, Ms. Monroe, this is Nurse Patterson from Sunrise Assisted Living. Nothing to worry about, but your grandmother had a small incident this morning. Her blood sugar dropped. She's fine now, but she's asking for you." "I'll be right there," Kiana said, her heart pounding. She hung up and looked at Jinwoo apologetically. "I'm sorry, I have to go see my grandmother. She had a health scare and—" "I'm coming with you," Jinwoo said immediately. "You don't have to." "Kiana, your grandmother is like family to me too," Jinwoo said firmly. "I spent half my childhood in her kitchen. I'm coming." Kiana nodded, grateful beyond words. They caught a cab to Sunrise Assisted Living, a modest facility on the south side. Nothing fancy but clean and well-staffed, which was all Kiana could afford. Grammy was sitting up in bed when they arrived, looking tired but alert. At 76, she'd shrunk a bit with age, but her eyes were still sharp and her spirit was still fierce. "Baby girl, I told them not to worry you," Grammy said when Kiana rushed in. "I just got a little dizzy, that's all." "Grammy, you can't scare me like that," Kiana said, taking her grandmother's hand. "Who's this handsome young man?" Grammy asked, looking past Kiana to where Jinwoo stood in the doorway. Jinwoo stepped forward, and Kiana saw the exact moment Grammy recognized him. Her grandmother's eyes went wide, then filled with tears. "Little Jinwoo, Lee Jinwoo from down the street." "Hi, Mrs. Monroe," Jinwoo said, his voice thick with emotion. "It's good to see you again." "Lord have mercy, look at you," Grammy said, reaching out her other hand. Jinwoo took it gently. "You grew up so handsome and so tall. Last time I saw you, you were barely up to my shoulder." "You still make those pecan cookies?" Jinwoo asked. Grammy laughed. "When these doctors let me have sugar, which is basically never. Sit down, both of you. Tell me everything." They sat and Grammy held court from her bed, asking Jinwoo about his life, his family, his work. She beamed with pride when he told her about his company, like he was her own grandson. And Jinwoo answered every question with patience and warmth, never once checking his phone or seeming impatient. "You taking care of my grandbaby?" Grammy asked suddenly, fixing Jinwoo with a look that probably made CEOs quake. "Grammy," Kiana protested. "I'm trying to," Jinwoo said honestly. "She's stubborn about accepting help." "Gets that from me," Grammy said with satisfaction. "But sometimes being stubborn just means being scared. You remember that." "Yes, ma'am," Jinwoo said. They stayed for an hour, until Grammy started yawning and the nurse came in to remind them about rest time. Kiana kissed her grandmother's forehead, breathing in the familiar scent of cocoa butter and lavender. "I love you, Grammy." "Love you too, baby. And Jinwoo," Grammy called out as they headed for the door. "You make sure she eats. She forgets to eat when she's worried." "I will," Jinwoo promised. Outside, Kiana let out a long breath. "Sorry, that wasn't exactly the fun Chicago tour I promised." "Are you kidding?" Jinwoo said. "Seeing Mrs. Monroe again, that was the best part of my day. Well, second best. Imani teaching me about flower petals is pretty hard to beat." Kiana smiled despite her worry. "You were really good with those kids." "They were great," Jinwoo said. "Made me realize how much I miss just being around people who don't want something from me, who just like me for me." "Is that what your life is like?" Kiana asked. "Everyone wanting something?" "Pretty much," Jinwoo admitted. "Business partners want deals, employees want promotions, people I date want access to my money or my connections. It's exhausting." "I don't want any of that," Kiana said quietly. "I know," Jinwoo said, and the way he looked at her made her heart skip. "That's why being with you feels like breathing again." They grabbed lunch at a tiny taco place that Kiana swore had the best al pastor in Chicago. Jinwoo insisted on paying, and Kiana let him because she could see how much he needed to feel like he was taking care of her somehow. They ate on a bench by the lake, watching the water and the joggers and the dogs playing in the park. It felt easy, natural, like the 15 years hadn't happened, or maybe like they'd happened exactly the way they needed to in order to bring them back to this moment. I looked you up, Kiana admitted suddenly. Over the years, saw the articles, the pictures of you at fancy events. Jinwoo glanced at her. I looked you up too. There's not much online about you though. I worried, wondered if you were okay. I'm a waitress, Kiana said. We don't exactly make the news. You're an artist, Jinwoo corrected. Who happens to work as a waitress to take care of her grandmother? There's a difference. The Bills don't care about the difference, Kiana said. What if they didn't have to? Jinwoo asked carefully. Kiana's stomach tightened. What do you mean? Come work for me, Jinwoo said. I need someone to oversee community outreach and cultural programs for Hanseong International. We're expanding our corporate social responsibility initiatives, and I need someone who understands art, education, and community building. Someone I trust. The salary would be. No, Kiana said immediately. Jinwoo blinked. You didn't even let me finish. Because I know what you're doing, Kiana said, standing up. You're trying to rescue me, trying to fix my problems with money. I'm trying to offer you a job you'd be perfect for, Jinwoo argued, standing too. This isn't charity, Kiana. I genuinely need someone with your skills. In Seoul, Kiana asked, what about Grammy? What about my life here? Bring her with you, Jinwoo said. I can arrange for the best medical care, a live-in nurse, whatever she needs. Just uproot my entire life and move to Korea because you feel bad about my situation. Kiana's voice rose. I'm not some project for you to manage, Jinwoo. That's not what this is, Jinwoo said, frustration creeping into his voice. Why can't you just accept that I want to help you? Because I don't want to be someone you help, Kiana shouted. I want to be someone you see as an equal, and offering me a job I'm not qualified for in a country where I don't speak the language, taking care of my sick grandmother with your money. That's not equality. That's dependence. Jinwoo looked like she'd slapped him. I do see you as an equal. No, you see me as the girl who needs saving, Kiana said, her voice breaking. And maybe I do need saving. Maybe my life is a mess and I'm drowning in bills and responsibility. But I need to save myself, Jinwoo. I need to know I can do this on my own. Why? Jinwoo asked desperately. Why does it have to be alone? Why can't you let someone be there for you? Because everyone leaves, Kiana said, and there it was, the truth she'd been avoiding. My mom died. My dad was never around. You left. Everyone leaves eventually, and I can't build my life on someone else's money or charity or pity, because when they leave, I'll have nothing. Oh no, it's getting real now. If you think Kiana's pushing Jinwoo away because she's scared, comment, let HIM love you, and subscribe because this conversation is far from over. Silence fell between them. Jinwoo's expression shifted from frustrated to heartbroken. I didn't leave because I wanted to, Jinwoo said quietly. I was 13. My parents moved back to Korea for my dad's business. I cried for a month. I begged them to let me stay, to let me finish school here. They said no. Kiana felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I know that, but it didn't make it hurt less. I wrote you letters, Jinwoo said. Dozens of them. My mom said she mailed them. Did you get them? Kiana's breath caught. No, I never got any letters. Jinwoo's jaw tightened. She probably never sent them. She thought I needed to focus on adjusting to life in Korea, not dwell on the past. I asked about you, begged her to help me find you online. She said it was better to move forward. You tried to contact me, Kiana whispered. For years, Jinwoo said. Eventually I gave up. Told myself you'd moved on, probably forgotten about the weird Korean kid who couldn't pronounce his RS. But I never forgot you, Kiana. Not for a single day. Kiana sank back onto the bench, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. "I thought you forgot about me." "Never," Jinwoo said fiercely, sitting beside her. "You were my best friend, my first." He stopped himself. "Your first what?" Kiana asked. Jinwoo looked at her and his eyes were full of everything he wasn't saying. "My first love. You were my first love, Kiana. At 13, I didn't have the words for it. But I knew that leaving you was the worst thing that had ever happened to me." Kiana's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might break out of her chest. "Jinwoo." "I'm not asking you to depend on me," Jinwoo interrupted gently. "I'm asking you to let me be part of your life, whatever that looks like. If you want to keep working at Romano's, fine. If you want to pursue art, I'll support that. If you want nothing to do with my money or my company, okay, but don't push me away because you're scared I'll leave. I'm here. I came back. And I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to." "I don't know how to do this," Kiana admitted. "I don't know how to let someone in." "Then let me teach you," Jinwoo said, taking her hand. "The same way you taught me English. One word at a time, one day at a time, we'll figure it out together." Kiana looked at their joined hands. His fingers were steady, certain, everything she wasn't. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too," Jinwoo admitted. "I'm scared you'll realize I'm just a workaholic who doesn't know how to turn off his brain, that I'm boring and too serious and not worth the trouble." Kiana laughed through her tears. "You taught painting to 7-year-olds this morning. You're many things, but boring isn't one of them." "So we're both scared," Jinwoo said, "but maybe we can be scared together." Before Kiana could answer, a voice cut through the moment like a knife. "Jinwoo, there you are. I've been calling you for hours." They both turned to see a woman approaching. She was stunning, dressed in designer clothes that probably cost more than Kiana's annual salary. Tall, elegant, with the kind of polished beauty that came from expensive salons and personal trainers, and she was looking at Kiana like she was something unpleasant stuck to her shoe. "Sara," Jinwoo said, standing up quickly, "what are you doing here?" "Your assistant told me where you were," Sara said in lightly accented English. "When you didn't answer my calls, I got worried." Her eyes flicked to Kiana, dismissive and cold. "Who's this?" "This is Kiana Monroe," Jinwoo said. And Kiana noticed he didn't let go of her hand. "My oldest friend, Kiana, this is Sara Choi, she's his fiancée," Sora said, smiling like a shark. "Well, almost. Our parents have been planning the engagement for months. We're just waiting for Jinwoo to stop being stubborn about the timeline." Kiana felt like the ground had dropped out from under her. She pulled her hand from Jinwoo's like it burned. "Fiancé?" Kiana asked, her voice hollow. "No," Jinwoo said firmly, glaring at Sara. "Sara, we've talked about this. I've told you and both our fathers that I'm not interested in an arranged marriage." "You're being practical," Sora said with practiced patience. "Our families have business ties. A marriage would strengthen both companies. It makes sense." "For business," Jinwoo said coldly, "not for a marriage." "You'll come around," Sora said confidently. She turned to Kiana with false sweetness. "It was nice to meet you, Kiana. I'm sure you understand that Jinwoo has obligations, family expectations. People like us have to marry within our social circles. I'm sure someone like you gets that." The dismissal was clear. You're not good enough. You're not rich enough. You don't belong in his world. And the worst part was, Kiana had been thinking the exact same thing. "I need to go," Kiana said, standing up abruptly. I need to check on Grammy." "Kiana, wait," Jinwoo said, but she was already walking away. "Kiana," Jinwoo called after her. She didn't turn around, didn't let herself look back, because if she did, she'd see what she couldn't have. A life that wasn't hers, a world she didn't belong to, and a man who, no matter what he said, had obligations and expectations that would always come before a waitress from Chicago. Behind her she heard Sara's voice, sweet as poison. "Let her go, Jinwoo. She's not your responsibility." Kiana kept walking, tears streaming down her face, and told herself this was better, cleaner. She'd had one perfect day with the boy she'd never forgotten, and now it was over. That was more than most people got. So why did it feel like her heart was being ripped out of her chest? Is anyone else furious right now? Comment, Sora needs 2GO if you can't stand her. And subscribe because episode 3 is going to be explosive. Will Jinwoo fight for Kiana or will he give in to family pressure? You need to find out. Kiana made it 3 blocks before her phone started ringing. Jinwoo, she ignored it. It rang again and again. Text messages started flooding in. Please talk to me. Sora is lying. I'm not engaged. Kiana, please. Don't shut me out. She turned off her phone and kept walking, not even sure where she was going. Just away. Away from Jinwoo and his complicated life and the beautiful woman who belonged in his world in ways Kiana never would. She ended up at the community center, sitting on the front steps with her head in her hands. Miss Opal found her there 20 minutes later. Want to talk about it? Miss Opal asked, sitting down beside her. He has a fiancée, Kiana said numbly. He said that. She did. Showed up out of nowhere talking about family expectations and arranged marriages. And what did he say? That he wasn't interested, that he'd told them no, but Miss Opal, you should have seen her. She was perfect, rich, polished, everything I'm not. And you think that matters to him? Miss Opal asked gently. It matters to his family, his business, his entire life, Kiana said. I don't fit in that world. Baby, when are you going to stop deciding what you deserve based on what other people value? Miss Opal asked. That boy spent the morning teaching art to kids and eating tacos by the lake with you. You think he was pretending to be happy? No, Kiana admitted, but happy doesn't pay bills. Happy doesn't merge companies or satisfy family expectations. Happy is the whole point, Miss Opal said firmly. Money, business, expectations, none of that matters if you're miserable. And that boy was happier this morning than most rich people are in their entire lives. It doesn't matter, Kiana said. I can't compete with his world. Who said anything about competing? Miss Opal asked. Love isn't a competition, it's a choice. Question is whether you're going to choose fear or choose faith. Kiana didn't have an answer. She went home to her tiny apartment, checked on Grammy via phone call, and spent the night staring at her ceiling, trying not to think about Jinwoo's face when she walked away. She failed spectacularly. Coming up in episode 3, Kiana makes a decision that surprises everyone, including herself. Jinwoo takes drastic action that could cost him everything, and Grammy gives advice that changes the game. Plus, a trip to Seoul that no one saw coming. The finale is going to leave you emotional. Kiana didn't sleep. She lay in her bed, staring at the water stain on her ceiling that looked like a rabbit, and replayed every moment of the last 2 days. Jinwoo's face when he saw her at the restaurant. The way he'd stood up to Bryant without hesitation. How gentle he'd been with the kids at the community center. The devastation in his eyes when she walked away. And Sora's voice, cool and confident. People like us have to marry within our social circles. At 6 a.m., Kiana gave up on sleep and went for a run. She needed to clear her head, needed to think. But every block she ran, every breath she took, just brought her back to the same conclusion. She was in love with Lee Jinwoo. Not the memory of him, not the idea of him, but the real, actual man who'd walked back into her life and reminded her what it felt like to be seen, to be valued, to matter. And she'd run away. She was showering when her phone rang, Grammy's facility again. Kiana's heart jumped into her throat as she answered. Ms. Monroe, it's Nurse Patterson. Your grandmother is fine, the nurse said quickly. But she's refusing to take her medication until you come talk to her. She says it's urgent. I'll be right there, Kiana said, already reaching for clothes. She made it to sunrise in record time, bursting into Grammy's room expecting an emergency. Instead, she found her grandmother sitting up in bed, fully dressed, looking healthier than she had in weeks. "You lied about the medication," Kiana accused. "I needed you here," Grammy said unapologetically. "Sit down, we need to talk." Kiana sat wary. Grammy had that look, the one that meant she was about to deliver some hard truths whether Kiana wanted to hear them or not. "That boy came to see me last night," Grammy said. Kiana's eyes went wide. "Jinwoo was here." "Sat right where you're sitting for 2 hours," Grammy confirmed. "Told me everything, about the girl who showed up, about you walking away, about how he's in love with you and has been since he was 13 years old." Kiana's breath caught. "He said that?" "In those exact words," Grammy said. "Also told me about the job offer, about wanting to help with my medical care, about being willing to move heaven and earth to be with you if you just let him." "Grammy, it's not that simple." "Baby girl, let me tell you something," Grammy interrupted. "Your mama, God rest her soul, she was my whole world. And when she got sick, when the cancer came, you know what I regretted most? All the times I told her to be practical, to marry the stable man, not the artist she loved, to choose security over happiness. She listened to me, married your daddy because he had a good job and a nice car, and she was miserable every day of that marriage." Kiana had never heard this before. Mama was unhappy. "Desperately," Grammy said, tears in her eyes. "And I did that to her with my practical advice and my fear. I won't do it to you. That boy loves you, really loves you, not your situation, not what you can do for him, just you. And you love him back. I can see it all over your face. But his family wants him to marry someone else, someone from his world, and he has all these responsibilities. And he's a grown man who can make his own choices," Grammy said firmly. "The question isn't whether his life is complicated. The question is whether you love him enough to work through the complications together." "I'm scared," Kiana whispered. "Good," Grammy said. "Being scared means it matters, means it's real, but don't let fear steal your chance at happiness. I did that. Your mama did that. You're stronger than both of us were. Be strong enough to reach for what you want." Kiana's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Minyu, Mr. Lee's assistant. He's at the Hotel Monaco, room 2847. He hasn't eaten or slept. He needs you. If you care about him at all, please come. Minho asterisk." "What are you waiting for?" Grammy asked, reading Kiana's face. "Go get your man." Kiana stood up, her heart pounding. What if I can't do this? What if his world is too different? "Then you figure it out together," Grammy said. "That's what love is, baby. It's not finding someone perfect. It's finding someone worth working through the imperfect parts with." Kiana kissed her grandmother's forehead. "I love you." "Love you too. Now go, and don't come back without some good news." "Okay, hands up if you're screaming right now." Grammy Monroe just became the MVP. Comment best grandma ever and like this video. Subscribe because Kiana's about to do something brave. The Hotel Monaco was downtown, all marble and luxury. Kiana felt severely underdressed in her running clothes, but she didn't care. She took the elevator to the 28th floor, her heart pounding harder with each floor. She knocked on room 2847. Minyu answered, looking exhausted but relieved. "Thank you for coming," Minyu said quietly. "He's on the balcony, hasn't moved in hours." Kiana stepped into a suite that was bigger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, and there, on the balcony, was Jinwoo. He looked terrible, still in yesterday's paint-stained clothes, his hair a mess, shadows under his eyes. He was staring out at the city like it held answers he couldn't find. Kiana slid open the balcony door. "Hey." Jinwoo turned, and the hope that flashed across his face broke her heart and put it back together at the same time. "Kiana," he breathed, "you came." "Your assistant is very persuasive," Kiana said, stepping onto the balcony. "Also, Grammy threatened to disown me if I didn't come talk to you." "I like your grandmother," Jinwoo said, a ghost of a smile on his face. She likes you too, Kiana said. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry for running away, for not letting you explain about Sora. There's nothing to explain, Jinwoo said firmly. Sora is someone my father wants me to marry for business reasons. I've told him no repeatedly. I've told her no. She showed up here without invitation and completely misrepresented our relationship. She seemed pretty confident, Kiana said. She's delusional, Jinwoo said bluntly. And desperate. Her family's company is failing. A marriage to me would save it, but I don't care about any of that. I care about you. Jinwoo, I'm a waitress from Chicago who can barely make rent. You're a billionaire CEO. How is this supposed to work? I don't know, Jinwoo admitted. But I know I haven't felt this alive, this happy, this myself in years. Maybe ever. Being with you reminds me who I am underneath all the business and responsibility. You see me. The real me. And I see you. Not your circumstances, not your struggles, just you. The girl who shared her lunch with a scared kid who didn't speak English. The woman who teaches art to children and takes care of her grandmother and keeps going even when everything is hard. That's who I love. You love me, Kiana whispered. I love you, Jinwoo said without hesitation. I've loved you since we were kids. I loved you through 15 years of distance, and I'll love you for the rest of my life if you let me. Kiana felt tears streaming down her face. I love you too. I think I always have. Jinwoo closed the distance between them in 2 steps, cupping her face in his hands. Then we'll figure out the rest, together. Together, Kiana agreed. He kissed her, soft at first, tentative like he couldn't quite believe this was real. Then deeper, more certain, and Kiana felt 15 years of longing pour into that kiss. She wrapped her arms around his neck and he pulled her closer, and for the first time in forever, everything felt right. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Jinwoo rested his forehead against hers. Come to Seoul with me. What? Not permanently, Jinwoo clarified quickly. Just for a week. Let me show you my world, meet my team, see what the job I offered would actually entail. No pressure. If you hate it, if it doesn't feel right, we figure out something else. But give it a chance. Give us a chance. What about Grammy? I've already arranged for a private nurse to stay with her while you're gone, Jinwoo said. Top-rated, fully paid for, and we can video call her every day. You arranged a nurse. Last night, Jinwoo admitted. I was hoping you'd say yes, but if you say no, the nurse stays anyway. Your grandmother deserves the best care, regardless of what happens between us. Kiana shook her head in disbelief. You're really serious about this? Deadly serious, Jinwoo said. Kiana, I'm not asking you to give up your life. I'm asking you to consider expanding it. See what's possible. And if Seoul doesn't work, I'll figure out a way to split my time between there and Chicago. I'll move mountains if I have to. Whatever it takes to make this work. Kiana thought about Grammy's words, about choosing courage over fear, about reaching for happiness instead of settling for security. Okay, she said. Jinwoo's eyes went wide. Okay. 1 week in Seoul, Kiana confirmed. Show me your world. Let's see if we can make this crazy thing work. Jinwoo picked her up and spun her around, laughing with pure joy. You won't regret this. I better not, Kiana said, but she was laughing too. When do we leave? Tomorrow, Jinwoo said, if that's too soon. Tomorrow's perfect, Kiana said, because if she waited, she might lose her nerve. Better to jump all at once. They spent the rest of the day making arrangements. Kiana called Mr. Castellano and took a week's leave of absence. He agreed immediately, probably still terrified of Jinwoo. She visited Grammy, who cried happy tears and made Kiana promise to bring back pictures. And you better come back engaged, or at least with a promise ring, Grammy said. Grammy, we just got back together like 5 minutes ago. Baby, you've been together in your hearts for 15 years, Grammy said wisely. The ring is just making it official. That evening, Kiana was packing when her doorbell rang. She opened it to find Sora standing there, looking significantly less polished than before. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged. "Can I come in?" Sora asked. Kiana wanted to say no, but something in Sora's expression stopped her. This wasn't the confident woman from the park. This was someone desperate and broken. "5 minutes," Kiana said, stepping aside. Sora entered the small apartment, looking around with barely concealed distaste. "I came to apologize." Kiana blinked. "What?" "I lied," Sora said bluntly. "About the engagement, about our parents planning a wedding. I mean, they want it. They've wanted it for years, but Jinwoo has said no every single time. I thought if I acted confident enough, if I made it seem inevitable, maybe he'd give in." She laughed bitterly. "Instead, I pushed him even further away." "Why are you telling me this?" Kiana asked. "Because I saw how he looked at you," Sora said, her voice cracking. "And I've never seen him look at me that way. Not once in 10 years of knowing him. He loves you, really loves you, and I was jealous and cruel, and I'm sorry." Kiana didn't know what to say. "Thank you for telling me." "My family's company is bankrupt," Sora continued. "My father thought a marriage to Jinwoo would save us, but I can't force someone to love me, and I shouldn't have tried to sabotage what you have." She headed for the door, then turned back. "Take care of him. He acts tough, but he's softer than people think. He needs someone who sees that." "I will," Kiana promised. After Sora left, Kiana stood in her apartment, processing everything. This was really happening. She was really going to Seoul, really going to give this impossible relationship a chance. Her phone buzzed. "Jinwoo." "Can't sleep, too excited for tomorrow. Is that weird?" Kiana smiled, typing back. "Not weird, I'm excited too, and terrified." "We'll be terrified together. See you at 9 a.m. The car will pick you up." "See you then, Jinwoo." "Yeah. I love you." Even through text, she could feel his happiness. "I love you too, Kiki, more than you know." If you're not crying right now, you have no heart. Comment "I'm not crying, you're crying," and subscribe, because we're going to Seoul, baby. Things are about to get real. The flight to Seoul was in Jinwoo's private jet, which was an experience in itself. Kiana had never flown first class, let alone in a plane that belonged to one person. There were leather seats that reclined into beds, a full kitchen, and a flight attendant whose only job was to make sure they were comfortable. "This is insane," Kiana said, looking around. "People actually live like this." "Some people," Jinwoo said, amused. "Does it bother you?" "It's just so different from my world," Kiana admitted. "It's just a plane," Jinwoo said gently. "A really nice plane, but still just transportation. It doesn't change who I am." "Doesn't it?" Kiana challenged. "You can go anywhere, do anything. You don't have to worry about money or bills or whether you can afford groceries. That changes a person." "You're right," Jinwoo acknowledged. "It does, but you know what keeps me grounded? Remembering where I came from. My dad started his company with a loan from my grandmother and a dream. We weren't always rich. And the things that mattered then, family, loyalty, kindness, those still matter now. You matter now." They talked for hours during the flight, about everything and nothing. Jinwoo told her about the pressure of running a company, the weight of employees depending on him, the loneliness of always having to be on. Kiana told him about her dreams of opening an art studio someday, a place where kids from low-income neighborhoods could come for free classes, about wanting to matter, to make a difference, even if it was just in a few lives. "You already make a difference," Jinwoo said. "Those kids at the community center, you're changing their lives, giving them hope and possibility. That's not small, that's everything." They landed in Seoul in the early evening. The city was massive, glittering with lights, humming with energy. Kiana pressed her face to the car window as Jinwoo's driver took them through the streets, taking in the mix of ultra-modern buildings and traditional architecture. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "Wait until you see it in daylight," Jinwoo said, watching her with a soft smile. They went to Jinwoo's apartment, which was a penthouse in Gangnam that overlooked the entire city. It was minimalist, modern, and clearly decorated by someone who valued clean lines over personality. "I know it's a bit sterile," Jinwoo said apologetically. "I'm not here much. It's more of a place to sleep than a home." "We could change that," Kiana said, already seeing possibilities. "Add some color, maybe some art on the walls." "I'd like that," Jinwoo said. "Make it yours, make it ours." The next few days were a whirlwind. Jinwoo took her to his office, a gleaming tower in the business district, introduced her to his team, including Minyu, who welcomed her warmly, showed her the community programs his company funded, youth centers, scholarship funds, art initiatives. "This is what I want you to help expand," Jinwoo explained. "We have the money and the infrastructure. We just need someone with the vision and the heart to make it meaningful. That's you." Kiana met with program directors, saw budgets, learned about the scope of what Hanseong International could do with the right leadership. And slowly, she started to see it. How she could fit into this world. Not as Jinwoo's girlfriend living off his wealth, but as a professional making a real impact. "I think I could actually do this," Kiana said one evening as they walked along the Han River. "The job, I mean, I think I could be good at it." "You'd be incredible at it," Jinwoo said, "but only if it's what you want, not because of me, not because of the money, because it's your passion." "It is," Kiana realized. "This is what I've always wanted to do. I just never thought it was possible." "It's possible," Jinwoo said, stopping to face her. The river glittered behind him, the city lights reflecting off the water. "With you, anything feels possible." He pulled out a small box from his pocket, and Kiana's heart stopped. "It's not a ring," Jinwoo said quickly, seeing her panic. "I know it's too soon for that, but I wanted to give you something, a promise." He opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace, a small pendant in the shape of two interlocking circles. "Us," Jinwoo explained. "Two separate people, two separate worlds coming together, choosing each other. This is me promising that I'm all in. Whatever comes, whatever challenges we face, I choose you. Every day I choose you." Kiana felt tears streaming down her face. "I choose you too." Jinwoo fastened the necklace around her neck, his fingers gentle. Then he kissed her, soft and sweet, while the city sparkled around them. "Move here," Jinwoo said against her lips. "Take the job. We'll bring your grandmother. I'll make sure she has the best medical care in the world. You can build your art program. We'll build a life together." "What about your father?" Kiana asked. "The pressure to marry someone from your world." "I'll handle my father," Jinwoo said firmly. "You're my choice. You're my world. He'll accept it or he won't, but it won't change my decision." "This is crazy," Kiana said. 2 weeks ago I was serving tables. Now I'm in Seoul being offered a job at an international corporation, planning to move across the world." "Is it good crazy or bad crazy?" Jinwoo asked nervously. Kiana laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. "The best kind of crazy." They flew back to Chicago 3 days later. Kiana needed to talk to Grammy in person, make arrangements, think through the logistics. But she knew what her answer would be. For the first time in her life, she was choosing her own happiness, choosing possibility over fear. Grammy was waiting in her room at sunrise, looking stronger than she had in months. The private nurse Jinwoo had hired had been monitoring her medications carefully, adjusting dosages, making sure she ate properly. The difference was remarkable. "So," Grammy asked as Kiana sat down, "what did you decide?" "I'm moving to Seoul," Kiana said. "I'm taking the job, and I want you to come with me." Grammy's eyes filled with tears. "Baby, I can't ask you to uproot your whole life." "You're not asking, I'm telling," Kiana said firmly. "You sacrificed everything for me growing up. Let me do this for you." Jinwoo's arranged for a beautiful apartment with a live-in nurse, the best doctors, and you'll be with me. We'll be together. "What about the money, the cost?" "I'll be making a good salary," Kiana said. And Jinwoo wants to help, not as charity but as family, because that's what we are now, family. Grammy pulled her into a hug, both of them crying. Your mama would be so proud of you, so proud. I wish she could see this, Kiana whispered. She can, baby, Grammy said, and she's smiling. The next few weeks were chaos. Packing up Kiana's apartment, arranging for Grammy's medical records transfer, getting visas and paperwork sorted. Jinwoo handled most of it from Seoul, while Minyu stayed in Chicago to help coordinate. Kiana gave her notice at Romano's. Mr. Castellano looked relieved. Apparently, Jinwoo had indeed bought the restaurant and was implementing major changes. He offered Kiana a generous severance package and wished her well. Miss Opal threw her a going-away party at the community center. All the kids made her paintings, and Imani cried and made Kiana promise to video call every week. You're doing the right thing, Miss Opal said, hugging her tight. You're brave and you're strong, and you deserve every bit of happiness coming your way. 3 months after that night at Romano's, Kiana stood in Incheon International Airport with Grammy beside her in a wheelchair, looking out at Seoul through the massive windows. Ready? Jinwoo asked, appearing beside them with the biggest smile. Ready, Kiana confirmed. He took her hand, and together they walked into their new life. The ending we all needed. If you're sobbing happy tears right now, smash that like button. Comment your favorite moment from this whole journey and subscribe for more stories where love conquers all. 1 year later, the art center opened on a rainy Tuesday in spring. It was located in a neighborhood in Seoul that reminded Kiana of the south side of Chicago, working-class families, struggling to get by, kids who needed hope and opportunity. The building was bright and welcoming, with murals painted on the outside walls by local artists. Inside were classrooms, studios, a small gallery to showcase student work. Everything was free, funded entirely by Hanseong International's community outreach program. The program Kiana had built from the ground up. You ready? Jinwoo asked, squeezing her hand. Kiana looked at the crowd gathered outside. Local families, Korean press, community leaders, and there in the front row, Grammy in her wheelchair with her nurse beside her, beaming with pride. I'm ready, Kiana said. She cut the ribbon and the crowd cheered. Children rushed inside, eyes wide with wonder at the art supplies, the space, the possibilities. Miss Opal had flown in from Chicago for the opening. She stood beside Grammy, both of them crying happy tears. You did it, baby, Grammy said when Kiana came over to hug her. You changed the world. I'm just getting started, Kiana said. That evening, Jinwoo took her to the rooftop of their building. Their apartment was no longer sterile. Kiana had filled it with color, art, life. With Grammy living 2 floors down, with friends constantly visiting, it had become a real home. The city sparkled below them, full of light and promise. I have something for you, Jinwoo said. If it's another necklace, I'm running out of neck space, Kiana joked. It's not a necklace, Jinwoo said, getting down on one knee. Kiana's breath stopped. Kiana Monroe, you walked back into my life and reminded me what it means to be human, to be happy, to be myself, Jinwoo said, pulling out a ring box. You took a chance on me, on us, on this crazy life, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you made the right choice. Will you marry me? The ring was beautiful, a simple band with a single diamond that caught the light. But what took Kiana's breath away was Jinwoo's face. The hope, the love, the absolute certainty that this was right. Yes, Kiana said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, yes, yes. Jinwoo slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her, and the city seemed to celebrate with them, lights twinkling like stars. Later, when they called Grammy to tell her the news, she just laughed. About time, Grammy said. I was starting to think I'd have to propose for you. Grammy, Kiana protested. What? I'm old. I want to see great-grandbabies before I die. One thing at a time, Jinwoo said, laughing. But as Kiana looked at the ring on her finger, at the man beside her, at the life they'd built together, she thought that maybe Grammy was right. Maybe after years of playing it safe, of being afraid, she deserved to want it all. The career, the love, the family, the happiness. And with Jinwoo, she could have it. Because love wasn't about one person saving another. It was about two people choosing to build something beautiful together, choosing courage over fear, choosing possibility over limitation. It was about a waitress from Chicago and a billionaire from Seoul who found their way back to each other after 15 years and refused to let the world tell them it couldn't work. It was about proving that when two hearts choose each other, anything is possible. The end. Lesson: true love isn't about fitting into someone else's world or them fitting into yours. It's about building a new world together, one brave choice at a time. Don't let fear of the unknown keep you from reaching for the happiness you deserve. Sometimes the most beautiful life is on the other side of a leap of faith. And sometimes, the person you've been looking for has been looking for you too, waiting for the moment when you're both brave enough to reach across the distance and choose each other. Thank you so much for joining me on Kiana and Jinwoo's journey. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you loved most about their story. Should I do a bonus episode about the wedding? Let me know. And don't forget to check out my other stories where cultures collide, hearts connect, and love rewrites every rule. Until next time, keep believing in love.